gonna do my best to do a good job, but, all right. I guess what, I wanna say a few words about my grandmother, that this will dovetail pretty nice, actually, I think, with what, Eric just said. I came along in 1975, and I was fortunate enough for nearly 7 years to be the only grandchild. So I exploited the spoils of that position greatly for a long time, and it shaped who I am for sure. Wonderful level of generosity. Anyway, I knew I'd be a little nervous, but I have something a little scripted I'm going to go through, but so it's been reiterated many times here today, and the days that have preceded, and no doubt those that are going to follow. Common theme while discussing my grandmother is how her faith and her relationship to God was central to her life. She, in many ways, expressed her faith, and she had many ways which she expressed her faith, and some were very visible and apparent to all of us. Any of us that grew up around her and walked through her door of her house and got to experience her being very open for display, and but I also no doubt believe that there was, or rather there is, if you believe that your faith is an active force and perhaps what's bringing us here today, that there was a dimension of her person and her faith that was probably personal and private and only knowable between herself and her relationship to God, which we all have a part of ourselves, I think, that belong to us. There's what we have with our family and friends, and there's our public. We're different in those capacities. Of the qualities that I could see, though, that I knew for certain, the most prevalent has to be her role as a giver. Whether like that was the overabundance of gifts in the living room on Christmas Eve, or candy and treats she used to get hundreds of trick-or-treaters on Halloween when I was a kid, and I was, it was amazing. All those kids that rang at the doorbell, that she would, fill their bags and call them back and whatever. All the countless, how many times our family has been out for birthday dinners, any celebratory dinners, and she picks up that bill for all of us. Numerous, countless. I can't even comprehend how many times. Or even times where there would have been private assistance needed, that regardless of the cause. And honestly, there were times that she would give to a point that I couldn't even comprehend. Almost that I would think, is it to a fault? Is grandma being taken advantage of, or which she was at times. And I'm not pointing any fingers. There was an incident recently where she was taken advantage of, and it hurt me to see my grandmother taken advantage of, because to take from her that way was, in a selfish act, was really to take from yourself. It was a flaw. It cheapened the person's character of the person who took without need than hers, because it gave her joy to give. And so to take without that regard and that respect, it was no fault of hers for sure. And here's why I think it's beyond those sort of worldly things that you were speaking of, her belongings and whatnot. The deeper act being committed in her act of giving is a recognition that we're all connected. And whether that was as children of God, or citizens of our community, or just people who popped up on this earth. And her giving was always done generously, as an act of sacrifice for those around her. And because she saw that when one of us was suffering, we're all suffering. And her ability to give was not governed on principle per se. It was an expression of gratitude for what she had, and if she could alleviate the suffering in any of us by sharing what she had, it brought her joy, and it nourished her spirit, and it satisfied her soul to see that. And by extension, that selflessness satisfied God, which was most important to her. And what could be more apparent to those of us who experienced her love than that? But to my earlier point, while also being incredibly a personal and private thing for her, to receive the gift might bring a happiness, but it probably gave her something even greater, almost imperceptibly, and it was like a sleight of hand that she performed in doing that, because what she passed along was this unassuming, albeit poignant, challenge in all of us, asking what we're willing to sacrifice of ourselves in the service of our loved ones and God, and whatever our relationship to one another and what we're doing here on this planet is all about. So I think that's about all I have to say about that. I want to thank everyone for being here with us this evening and honoring my grandmother's memory.
I have something I want to share whenever everyone's ready. It could take me a second, so is someone else going to speak? Nice. And when we get to that, then I'll share.
I'm Tom Luby. I have the honor of being Pat's godson. And Guy could not have asked for a better godmother throughout my entire life. Pat's love and grace was with me whenever I would talk with her. And you always just went away from conversations or visits with Pat feeling that love, as so many have testified. I want to just share a couple, 3 memories, fond memories that I have. So I think I was maybe 4 or 5, and I had the blessing of having Pat and Ray invite me to go to midnight mass with them. And I thought I was such a big shot because I got to go to midnight mass and Kevin and Linda had to stay home. And again, she just had the way of making you feel so special. How many of you ever got to witness Pat and Ray doing the polka? That is such a fond memory for me. The Smith family had lots of weddings back in the day, and oftentimes we'd look forward to watching Pat and Ray do the polka, and they would go around and around, and all night long they're on the dance floor, just time after time after time. Like they had so much energy, and they were so skilled at it. It was really cool to see. The next one is Sundays at Grandma's house. So Grandma and Grandpa Smith, every Sunday, they hosted Sunday dinner. And, as Grandma got a little older and not quite as spunky, Pat was always there to kind of take charge, make sure the meal was prepared in a special way, and that everybody really enjoyed themselves while they were there. And I have to give one kudo to Ray in this, and that is that on those Sundays, I could always count on Ray to play catch with me. Always. Lastly, I just would say that over the years, I had a chance to talk with Pat as often as I could and visit with her, not often enough. And like so many have said, she just made you feel special. She made you feel loved. And we will miss her.
Definitely.
I'm Tim Jr. One of Pat's younger brothers was my dad, and I'm also her godson. Do you know how many she had? I just learned that, Tom. I didn't even know. Okay. Well, if I could describe my Aunt Pat in one word, it's kind. She exemplified kindness. And as Tom said, it goes back being a little kid, Christmas out at Grandma and Grandpa's. She always made sure the little kids got something, a coloring book, some crayons. She was just very thoughtful, made you feel special. Going on to, as you get a little older, there were picnics and everything, family reunions, and Aunt Pat and Uncle Ray always bought Kentucky Fried Chicken. And she knew I loved it, and she always made sure I got a piece. And I still love Kentucky Fried Chicken to this day, and I have to owe that to Aunt Pat. So I'm appreciative of that. It's not the best, but whatever. As we got older, Randy and I, pretty much the same age, hung out together, had some mutual friends and whatnot, and we used to make our treks up north. And it was always great when Randy came because Aunt Pat always sent the best food, bags of it. And I remember one time he got hurt playing football or something. He couldn't make the trip. And we waited, and my buddies were like, "Hey, is Randy going?" I'm like, "I don't know. We'll call him," because they wanted Aunt Pat's food. But she took care of us. It was her way of making sure we were taken care of. I think she pretty much knew what teenage boys were doing on a trek north in the fall. But this particular week, we waited for Randy because he played, I think it was football, wasn't it? Yeah, playing football and got hurt. And I get a call from Aunt Pat. Randy can't make it. I'm like, uh-oh, what the heck? She goes, he got hurt. She goes, but I want you boys to come and get the food. So she still insisted that we make a stop by and pick up the food. It's just her way, her kindness. And it just, as I got older, seeing her at weddings and family reunions and get-togethers, whatever, just a kind word always. And it just made you feel good. She had a way of just conveying that love and made you feel like you mattered. And it was one-on-one. You'd be in a group like this, and when you were having a conversation with her, it was you and her. It wasn't the whole group. It was about, and she made you feel special. It was about, she was interested in what you were doing as a person. So you will be missed, Aunt Pat. I love you, and thank you for everything.
I want to share a memory from my grandma's 88th birthday, but I gotta get it right first. So.
I'm very proud of you. You make me happy.
I don't know if you can hear it.
I can't tell you how when I
Good.
get that telephone call, I know when you're calling, I know when he's calling. And Patty calls the latest. No, I call the earliest. But I really, really am proud of all of you. You're not only good looking, but you're really trustworthy and honest and religious. In some way, I must have done something right because I've got 4 perfect kids.
Isn't that the best?
Yes.
Oh, that's I thank God every day for every one of you. You were my world. I can't even
Uh-huh.
think of this.
Well, it's emotional. God, let a person have some feelings, You're beautiful.
Why don't you get up and do